In a landmark decision, the Supreme Court has struck down tariffs imposed by the former Trump administration on goods from India and Brazil, delivering a decisive check on presidential authority. The court ruled that the power to tax and regulate trade belongs to Congress, not the White House, directly challenging the recent trend of expanding executive power. The case centered on a national emergency declared over the trade deficit, which led to sweeping tariffs that disrupted the economy and supply chains. The justices made clear that emergency powers are not a blank check for presidents to rewrite economic policy. By dismantling the legal foundation for these tariffs, the court reaffirmed the separation of powers and restored congressional authority over trade. This ruling is a powerful reminder that the rule of law applies to everyone, including the president. It sets a precedent that future presidents must respect constitutional limits, especially when it comes to major economic decisions. The Supreme Court found that the president had overstepped his authority by using the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA, to justify the tariffs. The court determined that a trade deficit is not the kind of extraordinary threat IEEPA was meant to address. Instead of working with Congress, the president used emergency powers to bypass the legislative process and impose a massive new tax. The ruling warns that allowing such actions would set a dangerous precedent, letting future presidents use emergencies to sidestep Congress on domestic policy. The decision protects the balance of power, ensuring emergency statutes aren't shortcuts for executive overreach. The court affirmed that the executive enforces laws, not creates them, and drew a firm line: economic lawmaking remains with Congress. This ruling is a crucial guardrail for American democracy. At the heart of this case is the Constitution's clear separation of powers. Article 1 gives Congress, not the president, the authority to levy taxes and regulate trade. The tariffs functioned as a tax, and the court ruled the president had usurped Congress's exclusive power. The framers designed this system to prevent tyranny by ensuring economic decisions are made by elected representatives. The Supreme Court's decision defends this structure, clarifying that the president can negotiate and enforce trade laws but not invent new ones. Major shifts in trade and tax policy must go through Congress, where they can be debated and scrutinized. This reaffirmation of congressional authority is vital for democracy and forces cooperation between branches. The court has told the executive to stay in its lane, preserving the balance of power. The Supreme Court's decision brings real relief to American businesses, workers, and consumers. The sudden tariffs on Indian and Brazilian goods had imposed huge costs, threatening companies and jobs. Now, over $100 billion in tariff refunds will flow back to businesses, providing a much-needed economic boost. This money can be used to pay debts, invest, and create jobs, especially in industries hit hardest by the tariffs. Consumers will benefit too, as the removal of tariffs should stabilize or lower prices on many imported goods. The ruling restores predictability for businesses, allowing them to plan and hire with confidence. It removes a major source of economic instability, helping secure jobs and support growth. The decision ensures American workers and families are on firmer economic ground. Tariffs are taxes on imports meant to protect domestic industries, but often causing unintended harm. While they can shield local jobs, tariffs usually trigger retaliation, sparking trade wars that hurt American exporters like farmers. Tariffs also raise costs for businesses that rely on imported materials, leading to higher prices for consumers. This hidden tax can fuel inflation and reduce families' purchasing power. The Supreme Court's decision wasn't about whether tariffs are good or bad policy, but about who has the authority to impose them. The justices insisted that such powerful economic tools must be debated and enacted by Congress, not imposed unilaterally. This ensures that major economic decisions are transparent, deliberate, and representative. The ruling protects the constitutional process for making trade policy. The Supreme Court closely examined the use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEPA. Historically, IEPA was meant for genuine emergencies like sanctions on hostile regimes, not for routine economic policy. Declaring a trade deficit a national emergency was a radical and controversial stretch of the law. The court found that this interpretation would let presidents bypass Congress on almost any issue by declaring emergencies. By rejecting this, the court restored IEPA to its original purpose and set clear limits on presidential emergency powers. The decision ensures that even in emergencies, the president is bound by law and cannot unilaterally reshape economic policy. The Supreme Court's decision is more than a legal ruling, it's a reaffirmation of American democracy. It reinforces checks and balances, reminding us that the president is not above the law. The ruling pushes back against the trend of executive overreach and reasserts Congress's role in economic policy. Real-world consequences of the tariffs, higher prices, disrupted supply chains, and retaliatory measures show why this balance matters. The decision compels future leaders to work with Congress, leading to more stable and representative policies. By clarifying the limits of presidential power, the court has fortified the foundations of democracy. The Constitution remains a binding framework, ensuring resilient governance for the future.